Shooting to the top of the list repeatedly for our customers dealing with a multi-cloud environment is security. And one super important component and question we get from customers is, I need a better way in order to assess the risk of my multi-cloud environment. So in episode 3, Jyoti Sharma, one of our subject matter experts, walked us through a couple of important specific considerations. And that was the assembly of multiple risk areas into a single interface and the evaluation of that. What does that mean? Think of one component as access management. The resources of a cloud tend to be ephemeral. They can be spun up and spun down very quickly. How do you have the right access management to those resources is one example. Another one, as they're spun up, is misconfigurations. And how do you make sure or audit those configurations to make sure they're in compliance? So take a look at this segment where Jyoti walks us through it. What are some of the risks, right, that customers are encountering? And maybe you could set up the next demo a little bit, the context for it.
Sure. So, like we were talking about changes in these configurations in the cloud environments, right? So there's developers deploying code and continuously, and like I said, it's easy to make mistakes, and these are always mostly your configuration mistakes. So you want to be able to detect whether these configurations mistakes are leading to create a risky situation, which an attacker can exploit. And you want to be able to continuously monitor those risks and also ensure that there is compliance to some of the industry benchmarks. And this is particularly challenging, of course, because of the ephemeral nature of the cloud resources. And I want to talk a little bit also about different techniques and different kinds of risks, because you have misconfigurations, and typically you have a different tool for identifying what the misconfigurations are, or to figure out like who has access to resources in the cloud environment, so that you can manage the access permissions, or you have threat data. But the customers need a more integrated approach where they can see all of these risks for certain resources together. And this is where I want to introduce VMware ARIA Automation for Secure Clouds. It's a native cloud security and compliance platform that helps to continuously monitor configuration risk, whether it's a misconfiguration, whether you want to identify access permissions, IAM policies. And it also allows you to integrate with other tools, for example, Amazon Guard Duty or Amazon Inspector, and bring in data so that you get that central view and a consolidated view of all the violations or all the risk associated with the resource.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great setup for thinking about in that multi-cloud environment, right? Then how do you kind of do some of the threat detection pieces when you begin to see that threat? And that's what we're going to see in this next demo. So let's go ahead and roll the next demo.
VMware ARIA Automation for Secure Clouds to investigate an incident. Here I have an alert that is coming from ARIA Automation for Secure Clouds, which states that one of my S3 buckets has logging not enabled. This is really concerning for me, since we have a policy that every single S3 bucket should have logging enabled, and if someone disabled it, I definitely want to know what's going on there. Probably some user is compromised or something, so I'm going to click on View Details and find out more. This is going to take me to the VMware ARIA Automation for Secure Clouds product, and here I can, on the right side here, I can find more information about what triggered this alert. In this case, this rule here, S3 logging should be enabled. But first, what is this S3 bucket? I see here that we have whole 14 open findings. And probably the most concerning ones are with the highest risk score. We have a discovery S3 Tor IP caller, which means that someone is trying to execute API calls using a Tor IP client. The more concerning one is that someone actually succeeded to execute API calls with Tor IP. And we have even anomalous behavior that someone deleted objects from that bucket.